All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Natty News Daily podcast. It's your host, as always. I say that as always, but like I said in the last episode, if you're listening chronologically, this is we're kind of bringing it back. We're bringing it back, and I've got some great guests lined up. But this is James, and I am joined by Jairo Chang, who you guys are going to get to know today. I've been following him for a couple years. He was telling me he's been following us, so this is a nice. This is the first time we've truly spoken this format, even though we've been running in very similar circles. And today we're going to be talking about judging. Jairo has a great experience, great resume, judging across multiple different federations, multiple different promotions. He's also a promoter himself with an independent show. We're going to dive into that, kind of what led him to that. But I want the viewers and the listeners to get to know you and kind of how you got to this point first. So why don't I turn it over to you? Just a little bit of a history of like who you are, what got you into natural bodybuilding, your passions with the sport, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, thanks, James, for having me here. And also thank you for everything that you guys are doing for the natural bodybuilding community, promoting our sport, just like the Open Natural, all across all the federations.
Mhm.
So just to give you a little bit of background about myself, my name's Jairo Chang. My name is very confusing because I'm like, it's like a Spanish first name and a Chinese last name, but there's an explanation to that. I grew up in Colombia, South America. But then I happen to be Chinese descent. So that's
Mhm.
how I'm a mixed race person. Um, right now, in present day, I'm a promoter of the Open Natural. It's an annual show that we have been putting together for the past 3 years independently. I do that mostly for fun. For like my day job, I work with a software company in Redmond, Washington. But that also puts me in a really good position. I'm very lucky that I don't promote bodybuilding for a living, so that gives me a lot of like freedom to do things with great integrity. I don't. We're lucky. We're not too worried about like monetizing or anything like that. We just like to everything's like unbiased judging. We don't have a team. We're not coaching. I used to be a personal trainer for most of my life, um, from the late 90s, and then I did it for over a decade. But right now, I'm again in that good position. Just to share a little bit about myself, I grew up in Colombia, South America. I'm a kid from the 80s. So I think when I think of the 80s, I think of the it's almost like that, like the peak of bodybuilding, or maybe the peak of the machismo era. So I got to watch all the Arnold movies, like the first Terminator, the first Rambo, all those movies when they came out, when there was a new thing. So anyone I grew up with, we were really into bodybuilding. I can't think of any friend from my childhood or teenage years who didn't want to be jacked. So
Mhm.
the motivation was already there. That was always there. I started bodybuilding actually in 93. And then from the beginning, from the first minute, when I was a teen and I started lifting, I knew that I wanted to be a bodybuilding. I was lucky that the first gym that I ever joined, it was a bodybuilder gym. It was normal to see guys competing, squatting 3, 4 plates. That was the norm. So I always looked up to that. And later into college, I moved to a different town, still in Colombia, and then I joined another gym, and the gym happened to be the South American Federation of Powerlifting. So the early 90s, I did not bodybuilding as a team, but then when I became a young adult, I switched to powerlifting. I say, distracted maybe by powerlifting in a good way. I did it for a few years. It was also the right gym. When I joined there, my first employer was like an intern, Saul Salazar is his name. He was an international competitor. He was kind of a mentor, my first employer. And then, and that's when I became a personal trainer in the late 90s.
Mhm.
Um,
I want to
and
I want
then,
to real quick, and I might be taking us off on a tangent a little bit, but this kind of piqued my interest. You talked about when you were growing up, because of the movies, because of the culture, everybody wanted to be a bodybuilder, and you kind of just you were in these great gyms with this great environment for training. I kind of grew up the same, where when the first gym I went to was very much old school bodybuilding, Lee Labrada on the wall, Lee Priest on
mhm.
the wall, like rusty iron everywhere, nothing fancy, ripped up carpets. And I was always chasing the guys that were there, the older guys who were just jacked out of their minds. Little did I know then that I would never reach that because a lot of those guys were enhanced. And I don't want to demonize any side of the sport because, we've shared our opinions. That's their choice to make. Did you notice the same thing? That's the first part of the question. And at what point did you even realize that natural bodybuilding was a thing and that there was a differentiation with the enhanced side and the natural side? Because in my youth, I was so naive that I'm just going to keep training and I'm eventually going to look like this 240-pound monster that I'm training with, you know?
Yeah, I love the question because I didn't realize I didn't learn about bodybuilding until I moved to the United States. I always, like most people who are into bodybuilding, they think that steroids and bodybuilding, they go hand in hand and one couldn't exist with the other. And then when they see a guy who's in extraordinarily good shape, no, there's no way they have to be on drugs. So I actually, I practiced bodybuilding and powerlifting in Colombia. I only did one show, I think in July 2000, but I didn't start competing actively until I moved to the US. And let me share a personal story about that. Back in 2012, I came to the United States as an international student on a student visa originally. And then so I was working jobs and I was super busy with graduate school and all. I barely had time to work out. I was doing mostly powerlifting. Powerlifting takes kind of less time. It's not as you go to the gym 3 times a week and then you don't have to diet. Anyway, when I graduated, I felt like I had so much free time. I'm like, wow, I have a full-time job. I only have to work 40 hours a week and that's it. I don't have to go to school or anything. So I decided to go back into bodybuilding.
Mhm.
And at that point, I still had that mindset, like they go hand in hand. And I was ready to transition to the drugs. Okay, now I'm gonna start competing. I'm gonna get into this. And I had actually got a little box of Dianabol in my hands. And I'm
Mhm.
ready, just ready to start the cycle. And then my friend tells me, wait a minute, hey, wait, like before you do that, do you know that there's a thing called natural bodybuilding? I'm like, what? What is that? Yeah, like some of the shows are drug tested. They do polygraph, they do urine testing. I had no idea until
Mhm.
2013, 2012, I believe. And then my friend told me about a show, Washington State. There were
Mhm.
like two shows in town, Washington State Natural, and then there was another show called Natural Cascades.
Okay.
And then I started looking at the posters. I looked at the guys. I'm like, damn, I think I have a shot. Like I already look kind of like these guys. I just have to like fine tune, like diet. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what happened. So I started doing natural bodybuilding. My mindset was still, okay, I'm going to continue natural until I plateau. And then I eventually transition. I'm just going to see my full natural potential. And I'm just going to do this for a little while. And then I'm going to do the drugs. But
Mhm.
guess what? I started meeting more natural bodybuildings, growing in the community. I didn't plateau. I started progressing. So and I still continued doing powerlifting. So it wasn't an accident. It actually helped me to learn that the strength training is also important.
Mhm.
Um, and I continued growing in both sports. And then I eventually got a pro card with PNBA and
Mhm.
I got a pro and IPE. I'm like, maybe I'm going in the right direction. I think this is kind of cool. And that I realized that that could help me uh, make a difference.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember, you've been around for a while too. But back when I started bodybuilding, when I came to the US, we only had the bodybuilding division. That's it. We didn't have like men's physique, bikini, fit model, all those kind of things. So we didn't have that many pros. Like I remember when I first got into Wikipedia, I'm looking into bodybuilding, and there's a list of professional bodybuilders they could fit into a page. But
Mhm.
now I joined the party a little too late when there were way too many pros. So I realized that, okay, like getting a pro card now, that's kind of a little diluted. So I
Yep.
think being a natural, um, I don't know, it kind of makes things special. And then whatever you achieve, nobody can take it away from you.
Yeah.
Um, like I understand, like people who are enhanced, they also have to work hard. It's not like you sit on the couch and muscles grow on you. Of course, they have to diet, they have to work. But there's always this thing that you can't, there's no way to tell what percentage was hard work and diet and what percentage was the drugs. There's no way to divide them.
Hmm.
Um, but with bodybuilding, I mean, that's all it is. There are less variables. So whatever you achieve, it's your talent, it's your work, it's your diet, and
Hmm.
there's pretty much no way to put it down. So yeah, to answer your question, I didn't know about bodybuilding until fairly recently, about yeah, over 10 years in,
Hmm.
and then I didn't know about that.
Yeah. And I think that's a large issue, which people like you and I are trying to solve, right? It's the awareness issue. Because I think if more young individuals knew about that route, more individuals would take that route. I think it's just especially in the US where the NPC is very strong. It's just this logical thing of I see this person on social media, they're an NPC or IFBB competitor, they do this thing, that is the route I must take because that is the only route I know until they're exposed. Because like myself, I wasn't aware of it until I was working as a personal trainer in Syracuse. One of the other personal trainers competed with the New York State Natural over there in Syracuse, and I was like, "What is this OCB thing?" I don't, and I had never even thought of bodybuilding because I see those guys. And I'm like, okay, I'm in good shape, but I can't compete with that. These guys are massive. I see this guy compete. He does well. Me being slightly egotistical, I'm like, I could look better than that. I could beat him. What is this OCB? So you start researching it. And I was at that time 22, 23, right? So it took a long time. And if I was someone who was, kind of jumped the gun early on, that route is no longer available to me. So yeah, the awareness piece of it is massive, even still to this day with social media.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like a lot of I really don't like it, especially when I see young kids like high school age. They're not even close to their full potential, and they already start
Mhm.
jumping on gear. So I think I hope anyone can relate to my story or be inspired by it. Just like try at least to do it for a good decade, and you'll
Mhm.
see there's a strong chance that you have a lot more in you than you think, and you're
Mhm.
probably not going to plateau. Of course, there's a curve. When you're a beginner, you get the newbie gains and you start progressing fast. And then as you become better, your gains are gonna, the progress rate is not gonna be as fast, but that's also because you have a better physique and you have more refined physique. It happens in any sport, also in powerlifting, like going, I don't know, bringing your bench to 200 to 300. It happens. I mean, it's doable, but then going from 300 to 315, that takes you years, those little 15 pounds. And it's
Yeah.
the same with muscle. Just there's a point when just adding a few pounds, a few ounces of muscle becomes a challenge, but that means you're mastering the art.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the key piece. Like you said, you're mastering your craft, right? You have to continuously evolve and learn because as a natural, there's only so much recovery you can do. There's only so much volume you can do. So if you're plateauing, you have to evaluate what can I do more efficiently or just can I be more patient? Where on the other side of the sport, the option is always there to just take more. I can just add in this compound, take more of that compound, and then you never truly know, am I becoming a better bodybuilder because of the other things I'm doing, or am I becoming a better bodybuilder because I'm training smarter, eating smarter, recovering better, all those things. So yeah, there is something to that for sure. So at this point in time, you had your, like you said, your IPE pro card, PNBA pro card. You had seen kind of what was out there. Where did that take you to now being judge, promoter, and not just judge across one federation? You gave me a list, and I mean, some of these federations don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
But it was like 4 or 5 federations that you have judged for. At what point did you see, all right, I might stop competing, or maybe that's not my focus, and I want to take my focus elsewhere to help the sport?
Yeah, there's another component that I'm pretty sure a lot of listeners can relate to is that I spend a fair amount of time navigating federations to find which one was the one that I would love, the one that I really like these criteria, the one that puts together all the good shows. So I competed with PNBA, NPAA in Canada. I didn't compete with OCB, but I was a volunteer and a judge with OCB. I competed with WNBF. What was the other one? Was I judged with AAU? That's the one that's, I mean, the federation is still around, but they don't promote bodybuilding anymore. I judged quite a few shows with the NGA, where I was actually a head judge.
Mhm.
Um, and then everyone did things a little bit different. Also, like, what you said, that when you're looking at the bodybuilders and you say, okay, I could be like that, maybe I could be better than some of these guys. That's that's the feeling that I got about federations. Like everybody at Twitter, every federation, every organization, I like to speak positively because everyone has a good thing to offer. Every federation has something good. So I tried to copy, observe all the good things that everyone was doing and try to put them together. And then my intention with the Open Natural is to put together the show I wish I had when I was competing, for those people who are kind of like testing federations. At the end of the day, my conclusion is that for the most part, the shows are good, like the quality, the enrollment, the venues. It's up to the individual promoter. So
Mhm.
most natural federations, they have they have mixed bags,
Mhm.
um, and that's what I learned. And then for judging, is a little tricky. It's a little different everywhere.
Okay.
For example, for PNBA, they are very Danny Keiko's the president. He's kind of a fan of old school classic bodybuilding.
Mhm.
So his mindset is very close to IFBB and Arnold. And now that I don't know if you know, the recent a few years ago they purchased Iron Man magazine.
Yep.
So they have to kind of have like the two worlds live together. So they really reward muscularity, in my opinion. When they're judging, they reward muscularity over conditioning. So they like kind of like the bigger, healthier physiques. Something I kind of like, one of the words that I remember from Danny Keiko's when he was coaching us to be judges is that he said we don't want to reward the concentration camp look. So he doesn't want to see people like who look depleted and hungry. He wants to promote healthy physiques, people who look like strong and that kind of thing. Then WMBF, in my opinion, they tend to reward more the extreme conditioning, because they take different sides. Like the NGA, they have the huge muscular guys. So they kind of went in the other directions. Okay, you guys have the huge guys. Okay, we're gonna have the super shredded guys.
Mhm.
Um, and then AAU, I only judged 1 year, so I didn't have enough time to observe what they were doing different. AAU was more community oriented than anything, very laid back, amateur athletic union. So they were probably the least pretentious, I would say.
Mhm.
Um, NPAA, from Canada. I'm trying to give everyone an equal share of love, but I think it was my favorite federation as a competitor. I had a great experience. I love what they do. They only run 4 shows every year, but all the quality is consistent. You always have the president goes to every show, and everything is, yeah, you know what to expect. The words are similar. Judging criteria is consistent.
Mhm.
Um,
And they're actually now a part of the PNBA global family.
that is correct. Yeah, yeah. They are together, and then now they are a qualifier for the Natural Olympia, I
Natural
believe.
Olympia, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And then there's the NPC. We considered judging sanctioning our show with the NPC. Let me tell you the positive first. Of course, they have the highest production values. They have this website, NPC News Online. They have this athlete database, great pictures, great, lighting, sound, everything runs like smoothly and impeccable. Probably the one thing that stopped me was that the judging criteria is the same. Let's say they have the Emerald Cup Natural here in Bellevue.
Mhm.
Judging criteria is the same for naturals and for non-tested.
Okay.
And the way I see it, natural bodybuilding and tested bodybuilding, they're pretty much like two different sports. I don't think the judging criteria should be the same. If you look at the criteria for the NPC, they tell you, let's say for divisions like figure. like we expect only this level of muscularity. We don't want them to be too muscular. Like it doesn't make sense to me to tell athletes to do less or to put a limit. I'm from a bodybuilding background. So try to imagine for a second, there's a powerlifting meet, and then there's a guy, this hypothetically, there's a guy who benches 400 pounds and another guy benches 300 pounds. And they give the trophy to the guy who benches 300 pounds because, and then tell the other guy, no, you're lifting a little bit too much. We don't want you to be too strong. We just want you to be kind of strong. That wouldn't make any sense, right? So, but for bodybuilding, for the judging criteria, at least for the open natural, we encourage every category. We could tell those women in figure, yeah, you are welcome. Like embrace muscularity, get very muscular, but you have to meet this criteria for symmetry. So we want you to get as muscular as possible, as long as it fits the symmetry. You have this T shape, and the shoulders, like this part looks wider than this part, and then you have your body must resemble the physique of a gymnast or an Olympic athlete, and your presentation is important because you're the figure is kind of a spin-off the fitness class. I don't know if you remember fitness that was super popular in the mid-90s, where they had to perform routines. So
Mhm.
it's pretty much fitness without the routine, without the gymnastics component. So you want to kind of emulate that physique. Anyway, so wrapping things up, I think that natural bodybuilding and untested bodybuilding, we should have different criterias, because in
Yeah.
natural bodybuilding, it just doesn't make sense to tell athletes, don't get too big, don't get too ripped. No, you just have to match the symmetry. You just have to
Yeah.
get as muscular as you can, but match this type of symmetry.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to shape a lot more in the natural side. And I think the biggest example that I can think of is the difference in enhanced classic versus open,
Hmm.
than natural classic versus open, right? Like classic became about in the enhanced side because guys were getting too big that they were losing their shape, and they quite literally had to put a limit. Like you can no longer be heavier than this per your height. And you see the top guys, they're, oh man, I had to lose, an extra 10 pounds to meet my weight cap. And they're like modifying their training to like to not train certain muscles. How many naturals ever have to worry about a weight cap? Like we're
I
striving to get
know.
every single pound that we can get. There's not many. There's only a handful of athletes I've ever even seen that have even come close to any sort of weight cap. The difference, in my opinion, that I see in classic versus open actually comes where a lot of really good classic shapes in the natural sport are bigger than some of the open bodybuilders
Mhm, mhm.
because they have the mass in the right spots. Massive arms, big barrel chest, big rib cage, where some open natural bodybuilders are the guys that can just get insanely lean. Like you said, like they prioritize that. Maybe they don't have as much mass as these classic guys, but they also don't have the shape. So maybe we can get away with I'm not the most aesthetic, but I can
Mhm.
get 5% body fat and have lines all over my body and just look nutty. And then you've got the guy that's very aesthetic, very flowy, big chest, and he's more classic. So it very much is an aesthetic, a shape, a look, where in enhanced, it's just how heavy can you get, or can you stay below this line?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like even, I'm 5'7", like I never got as big as the cap, as the limit that they put for the in the NPC for being classic. But I think the look that we should try to reward in natural bodybuilding for classic, which actually is my favorite class, is looking for the symmetry. For example, it's no secret that growing, or for most of us, growing the upper legs is easier than growing calves. So
Hmm.
for for natural bodybuilding, you still want to grow as much muscle as your symmetry allows. So
Hmm.
for the classic guys, from the Arnold era, 1970s, you always see these guys who have huge calves, or at least the illusion of huge calves, because the upper legs were not as big. So for the classic, again, you want to get as big as you can, as you want your upper legs as big as your lower legs allow. And there's also like these criteria. Remember, Steve Reeves, you want to have roughly the same perimeter for your neck, your upper arm, and your calves. So Same
Hmm.
thing. You still want your you want your arm as big as your neck allows. You don't want to like the skinny neck and huge arm. Anyway, so your body, I think the only limit should be set by your symmetry.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And how big, here's the way to look at it. You look at some of those classic bodybuilders, right? The difference in a Steve Reeves, a Frank Zane, a Arnold, those guys are all classic bodybuilders, but with dramatically different sizes to their
Hmm.
physiques. But they still are classic because they have that symmetry, they have that taper down to the small waist, or they give the appearance of that too, which I think a lot of people overlook. Some of it, like Arnold's waist, if you measure it, probably wasn't the smallest, but the way he posed, he presented like he had a smaller waist, which gave the appearance of this even larger upper body.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Also, his back was so wide that it gave the illusion that the waist was big. And
Mhm.
then, and the calves, as I said, they were big, but maybe they look even bigger because the upper legs were not as big. And
Mhm.
Frank Zane and one of my favorite bodybuilders is actually Lee Labrada. Like he had smaller joints. So the smaller joints, they give the illusion by contrast. If you have a small wrist, it gives the illusion that your forearm is huge and
Mhm.
that counts. That could make you win a show. You know,
Yeah.
like what is the name of this guy? Meshach. I can't pronounce his name.
Oh
Meshach
yeah.
Yang.
Yep.
He looks huge. You know, they call him the natural Ronnie Coleman,
Hmm.
but he weighs like 165 pounds. He's short guy. He has like small joints. I mean, he's huge for his frame. And by all means, yeah, he has a lot of world titles.
I met him in person at the Mr. America in 20, I think maybe 21, which might have been the last time he competed, and one of the most impressive physiques I've ever seen. But he came up to like mid chest on me. I'm not very tall. I'm 5'10", but I mean short guy and just all muscle. At that point, as lean as he was just the densest, if you want to like that term and use that term, he was the densest human being I've ever seen.
And
It was so impressive.
yeah, and quality over quantity as well.
Hmm. Absolutely. So yeah. So you've mentioned the open natural multiple times. I want to dive into good detail on like you kind of mentioned why you did it, but let's talk specifics of it. What is it? Where is it? When do you typically host it? And what could athletes and viewers kind of expect out of that show if it's something they were interested in?
Yeah, the Open Outdoor is a show we've been hosting since 2023. So we have hosted it three times. It's really cool because I see it again, as I said, it's a show that we run out of passion. I'm going to tell you how it started. Growing up in Colombia, there was a big bodybuilding culture. And I remember they had shows. It's also soccer culture where you have pickup games. So they have almost like pickup games or friendly shows for bodybuilding, and they were not sanctioned. It was I remember there was a rivalry between I'm trying to translate in this to English. It'll be like 24-hour fitness and LA Fitness, Colombian version, one gym against the other. So okay, let's see who got the buffest guys, and then they would host the gyms and would do it just for trophies, just for fun. And I have great memories of those shows. So I kind of wanted to do something similar, a show that anyone could participate in with legit judging and everything, run by with rules, but just for fun. And that was originally how it started. And we rented as like a city theater. We did it with lights. Everything was great. We got good pictures, and we got the attention from Mr. America. So I talked to Mark Tauriello. And then for the second year, we became a qualifier to Mr. America. We still were running the show independently, but we found like Mr. America, um, they have come almost like the same mindset. They have a
Yep.
show that's welcoming to all the federations, all the pros, and then we had the same mindset about drug testing. That's the other thing. When my mind is a little bit different, I'm a big fan of urine testing, probably because I don't know, maybe because my background comes from powerlifting. Uh, I like our show only does urine testing, by the way. And then we only test, instead of random testing, we test winners. Anyone who wins a first place trophy gets tested. And why am I not a fan of of polygraph.
Hmm.
Like the polygraph could be a very useful tool as long as you do like a real polygraph. For the APA is the organization that certifies polygraphers. They only allow a polygrapher to run 5 tests per day for how intense it is, how taxing it is. So those are their guidelines, and their real testing is about $500 per person. It's about like 2 hours every session. Of course, that's not feasible for natural bodybuilding, even if you wanted to do it. Imagine how it would be over an entire week of testing and $500. Who's gonna pay that?
Hmm.
So the practical solution was doing like a 5-10 minute version of it. I'm not a big fan, and some people kind of like pushed back, and they don't call it testing anymore. I think most promoters are using the word screening. It's just almost like adding an extra layer. If you fail the poly, then you get urine tested. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to simplify things, and I think our show only tests first place winner. If I go to a show, if I'm feeling terrible because I placed sixth, seventh place, give me a break. No, give that guy a break. Um, so that's another thing that we do different. Um, some other organizations, I think they give, this is in my opinion, they give the pro cards a little bit too easy compared, for example, to IFBB. So that kind of water things down. So some organizations would give pro cards to classes of 3 people only.
Hmm.
Um, what else we do different? And then
So
go ahead.
with you guys being an unsanctioned or an independent show, do you have an amateur side to the show? And if those winners win, do you have agreements in place with other federations to honor a pro card, or are they just an amateur winner there and there's kind of like no like pro status awarded?
I would say our umbrella would be Mr. America. So our show is a qualifier to Mr. America.
Hmm.
Everyone is welcome. It doesn't make something that we also like for judging. Like everyone is welcome. I don't think that any person who won a pro card in the past, it doesn't give you any advantage or disadvantage. It doesn't give you any secret sauce. So everyone of the open natural is treated as an amateur, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then whoever wins a class with 8 or more or whatever we have for that division, they are qualified to compete to Mr. America. And another rule that we can bend that I love is that we can give every show we have given cash prizes to winners. So it doesn't matter. Everyone again is treated as an amateur, but we give cash prizes. This last year we wanted things to change things a little bit, and we gave out we flew people to Mr. America. So whoever the 2 people who qualified, we paid for their tickets to the show. So I think it's also a really cool way to like one show to support another show.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we probably need more of that. I mean, we being natural Natty News Daily, we talk about it all the time where you don't get this large collective of high level athletes that frequently.
Mhm.
There's the year-end shows, but even within them, you have the guys that only compete with this federation, the guys that only compete with that federation. There's not as much crossover as what we'd like, where shows like yours, shows like the Mr. America, shows that, the ones that are open, NBW International for the UK guys, right? Like that are just open international shows, that's what's going to elevate the sport the most, in my opinion, because it asks for competition. It says bring your best. Like we don't care where you're at. We just want to put the best people on stage so that when this person wins, they can definitively say, I beat the champions of all these other federations. And that's something that we just don't see enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And the other thing that benefits is also having uh like all the federations, all the promoters being friends. So that's what creates community. We have been very lucky to be friends with other promoters. More recently, ANB,
NBF.
ANBF, and they have been super nice to us. NPAA, they're also very friendly. So that helps. We don't put any pressure on athletes. Like you're not an employee of a federation. You're you're a free person. You can go wherever you want. And we every time you win, we're gonna clap for you. Like we want people to grow in the community. And I think it's also business wise is also a smart idea. you want to be friends with anyone. It's like, hey, you're friends with this person. I will do my show. Go do this show later.
Hmm.
We're actually, I didn't tell you this part about the Open Natural. We're actually gonna skip. We're not gonna do this year. We're making like big, big plans. I'll tell you more of that later to make
Hmm.
a huge comeback in 2027.
Okay.
But this year, we are supporting ANBF, Washington State Natural, and just any other shows that want us to be around. We will be there for them.
Hmm. So what does that look like for you for this year in supporting the Washington State?
Um, no, I guess the promoter. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but I'm gonna be in the judge in the judging pan. It's fine because I'm not coaching anyone. Yeah, I'm gonna be in the part of the jury. I'm very excited because this is one federation. I volunteered for them before, but it's gonna be my first time judging. So I can't wait to see how their judging is doing. From what I have observed so far, is an organization with great integrity and sportsmanship. I met the president of the organization last year, and I see he's a guy who's uh, he competes in different shows. I remember some of his words are like, yeah, like if he competes only within his organization, it might be a little biased. So he gets outside and does that. I forgot. He has a name of it. I think he calls it the Tour of Good Faith, something like that. But yeah, anyway, yeah. But Ken, yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, yeah, he sets the example, right? Like if and that's something the ANBF athletes have kind of always been known for. If the president is out there trying to compete with every federation and rack up pro wins and pro cards everywhere, it kind of sets the example that like that's what this federation is about. You know, get out there, test yourself against everybody, and then when you want to come back, here's our stages and you're more than welcome to come.
Yeah, I love to see people. I think what's her name, Courtney Spade from East Coast. Yeah, she's also like that. She's competing all over the place. She won. I think she even won an IFBB Pro card. Like she's
Yep.
still competing with the natural organizations. Anyway, those are the people that I look up to.
Yeah, nice. So you'll be there present this year. Are you open to talking about what the 2027 show is going to look like? Some of those changes that you guys are implementing, or is that a secret for later?
It's a secret for now, but I guarantee that we're gonna keep doing what we're doing in the sense of growing community. I'm lucky. I'm still gonna be doing it almost as a hobby, as something I do for passion. I love bodybuilding. I wish I could still compete. And I think I didn't answer one of your questions completely. Is why I switched into
Yeah.
into into promoting. I don't know what happened, man. Like after 2019, when we got COVID and gyms closed down, I built my garage gym,
Mhm.
and then I got injured, deadlifting first, and then I got something on my back, and then I tore my biceps, I tore my quads, like everything, one injury after the other. I don't know if I'm maybe not that young anymore. I don't know what it is. No, I don't know what it is. But I started reflecting, as much as I love bodybuilding, I'm not old yet, but I came to accept that there's a time where you have to change hats, like so I'm now more excited to I still want to be involved with the sport,
Mhm.
but there's a time where it's better for you to be like coaching or doing what you're doing, being more involved with promoting, supporting other people, hosting your show. So it's just my promoting is my way to still be part of the community without taking my shirt off.
Yeah, yeah. I like the way you phrase that. And I've thought that myself. I don't want to say significantly younger than you because that seems like I'm taking a shot at you, but
No, you are.
not quite where you are yet. But I've had that thought myself, where it's as an athlete, you almost have to ask, what is my peak potential as an athlete? And does that match the level of impact that I want to have on the sport? And for me, it didn't. I'm honest with myself. I probably will never be a champion bodybuilder. If I win a pro card and then compete as a pro a couple times, I think that'll be the peak of my career. But my potential and my impact and my skills lie in conversations like this. Can I grow the sport with this platform and through live commentary that we provide? And as a coach, and by doing those things, I can help others reach their potential because mine as an athlete is probably a little bit capped. So yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of people have to, come to grips with. And if you're just competing because you enjoy it, that's fine. That's also a completely valid thing. You know, not everyone is going to be a champion. Not everyone needs to leave a mark. It can be completely a personal thing for you. And that is probably one of the more beautiful things about natural bodybuilding is the vast array of people and personalities that it does attract.
Yeah, no, I think you're doing great. I think you have a good balance. I think we as bodybuilders tend to think of like all or nothing, black and white, like balls to the wall. I think like after all, it's like lifting, dieting, sleeping, family, having your podcast. It's always about juggling things together. And I think you guys, you in particular, got a good balance.
Mhm. I do my best. It didn't come easy at first, and if you ask my wife 5 years ago, there was no balance, but that's been a work in progress for sure. So yeah, we're coming up on about like 10 minutes left in the hour. I want to kind of open it up to we talked kind of in our earlier conversations about like potential growth for natural bodybuilding. I obviously have made my statements where I think some of these independent, unsanctioned shows are kind of the route forward. But I want to hear your thoughts. Where you've seen the sport grow, you've seen it evolve, you've seen it change. Do you think it's heading in a good direction? And what do you think is going to kind of accelerate that growth on the natural side?
Think it's definitely growing. I think something important or like a milestone maybe that happened is the NPC
Hmm.
observing. They were always observing, but in 2023 when the NPC released that NPC natural brand,
Hmm.
it's because they realized the growth, they acknowledged the growth. Um, but I also think, I guess one of the key things that we could do to make natural bodybuilding growth is to have our own story, have our own sport, not just try to copy. Oh, they released this NPC released the new division, we should do it. Just have our own criteria, our own circuit. For example, the NPC, um, their biggest show is Ben Wither Naturals. I personally don't like that the Ben Wither Naturals is a qualifier to Mr. Olympia
Yeah.
because it kind of puts it under. I think the NPC should have like their own top show and just let it grow and shine for what it is. Just make Ben with their shows bigger and give this person more attention, and then just make it like the top show for naturals. Anyway, so going in that direction, I think we should try to for one, do what you guys are doing, just make more people aware. People like 2012 me who are ready to their first cycle, tell them, hey, hold on, take a look at this, go to these shows, volunteer, grow in this community, and then you're gonna love it. And then have our own showcase, our own champions,
Hmm.
um, and try all the organizations, all the promoters. Is the new generation is more of collaboration, like pop artists. When there are two really good pop artists, they don't compete. They release a single song together, and then it becomes a hit. I think that's exactly what we should do. Just
Hmm.
work together and then just get athletes together, and because every organization only has so many shows. Like for example, WNBF, there's only two shows in Washington. OCB, we had two shows in Washington. NBF has one. So you're not going to buy a membership just for one or two shows. I think it's good to be, yeah, just give the athlete the opportunity to go everywhere and just support natural bodybuilding as a
Yeah.
cause.
Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it in like the realm of music before, but that is a really good example. Those some of those singles that are put out are radio hits, right? Number one on the list for a good reason because you bring together those communities, you bring together those followings, and you introduce them to each other. And it's good for the industry. It's good for those artists as well. In this case, it'd be those bodybuilders, and that at the end of the day is what our platform is kind of about. Like we talked about earlier, is it's about highlighting the athlete. So if there's a way to do that by bringing people together and platforming some of these best athletes and turning more eyes to them to say like this is what is truly possible, at the end of the day I think we've accomplished at least our goal.
That's exactly right. So the goal would be to just make natural bodybuilding grow.
Mhm.
And if, let's say, you work with a federation, if the sport grows, then your business is also growing.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, well, that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this hour. I want to thank you for coming on. I think this was a great conversation. I think the viewers and the listeners are going to have a lot of information to kind of walk away with. If individuals want to follow your journey or the Open Natural, where can they best find you to ask questions?
Our most active platform is Instagram at The Open Natural and our website, theopennatural.com. So stay tuned for updates for our 2027 show. In the meantime, I'll see you guys at the 2026 ANBF Washington State Natural.
All
I'm
right.
the Mr. America. I will be there too.
Okay. So we'll be seeing each other a couple times
Oh,
this
nice. I'll see you
year.
a couple more times later this year. Yeah, James.
Perfect, perfect. All right. So if you guys have made it through this episode, we appreciate it as always. We wouldn't be doing it without you guys. So if you liked it, give it a like, subscribe, share, follow, put it on the socials, tag us, tag the Open Natural, all that good stuff. And we will see you guys in the next episode.